Take out whatever's in your pocket right now. A coin, a card, your phone. Doesn't matter. Whatever it is, hold it. Look at it. That thing in your hand is the end of a 5,000-year story. A story about how human beings figured out how to make a stranger trust them. And most people have never been told how it actually started. Here's the thing. If you think currency began when coins were invented, you're already 2,000 years late to the story. Let's go back. Way back. We're in Sumer, southern Mesopotamia, what is now Iraq. Around 3000 BCE cities are forming. Trade is expanding, and someone has a problem. The problem isn't that people don't have things of value, they do. They have grain. Barley mostly. Barley feeds armies, pays workers, brews beer. It is value. But here's the issue, you can't carry a warehouse of grain to market. You can't hand someone a bushel in the middle of a negotiation and say, "Here, trust me." So they invented something radical. A clay tablet, pressed into the surface, symbols representing a specific quantity of grain stored in a specific temple warehouse belonging to a specific person. You hand over the tablet, the grain stays where it is, across the city, and the other person accepts the tablet as payment. Think about what just happened. The value, the actual barley, isn't present, it's not changing hands. What's changing hands is a record, an abstraction, a promise baked in clay. That's not primitive, that's one of the most sophisticated ideas in human history. Value became abstract for the first time, separated from the physical object entirely. A clay tablet was your receipt, your contract, your bank balance, and your legal document, all baked in the same fire. But clay tablets had limits. They worked within a city, within a system of warehouses you both trusted. What about trading with someone from a different city, a different culture, someone who doesn't know your temple? You needed something universal, something that couldn't be argued with. Enter the shekel. And here's where it gets interesting. The shekel wasn't a coin, not even close. The word comes from the Akkadian shiklu, which means to weigh. The shekel was a unit of weight, specifically a fixed weight of silver. Not a stamped disc, not a minted object, just this much silver on a scale, right in front of you. So what made the shekel money? Not the silver, the agreement about the silver. The fact that two merchants in in Babylon, in Nineveh, had all agreed that this specific weight of this specific metal meant this specific amount of value. See the difference? Measurement became a social technology. The shekel didn't just standardize silver, it standardized the concept of how much, and that is a staggering thing to have invented. Humanity looked at the problem of trust between strangers and said, let's anchor it to something you can put on a scale and verify yourself. Why weight? Because weight doesn't lie. You can argue about quality, you can debate craftsmanship, but a balanced scale will always tell you the same answer. Now here's something that might surprise you. While Mesopotamia was building grain ledgers and weighing silver, a completely different monetary system was developing across China, Africa, and South Asia. And it didn't involve grain or silver at all. It involved shells, cowrie shells, small, smooth, uniform, natural little objects that happened to look almost identical to each other. And here's why they were brilliant. Unlike barley, you couldn't grow them. Unlike clay tokens, you couldn't fake them. They came from specific ocean regions. They were naturally scarce. They were naturally counterfeit-proof. Nature, entirely by accident, had produced the first tamper-resistant currency. Scarcity entered the equation not as a limitation, but as a feature. The shells were trustworthy precisely because you couldn't make more of them. But then, and this is the moment that breaks your brain, they ran out of shells. The trade networks expanded. Demand for cowries outpaced supply. So Chinese merchants did something remarkable. They made fake ones, cast bronze, shaped like cowrie shells, used as currency. And it still worked. People accepted them. Wait, actually, think about what that means. The merchants didn't go back to barley. They didn't go back to grain tokens. They kept the symbol and manufactured it artificially. Eventually, they simplified the shape entirely. Round bronze coins with square holes in the middle. easier to carry, easier to stack, easier to count. The thing itself no longer mattered. The symbol had become more powerful than the thing it symbolized. That's not a small moment. That's humanity consciously deciding to manufacture money. To agree collectively that a piece of bronze meant something, because the agreement itself was the point. Which brings us to Lydia, modern-day Western Turkey. Around 600 BCE, the kingdom of Lydia under King Alyattes does something that will echo for the next 2,600 years. They mint coins, not just any coins, coins made from electrum, a natural gold-silver alloy found in the region's rivers, and on each coin, a royal stamp, a lion's head, the mark of the Lydian king. That stamp wasn't decoration, it was a guarantee. It said, "We, the kingdom of Lydia, vouch for the weight and purity of this metal. You don't need a scale, you don't need to test it, you have our word." A government's word became more valuable than the metal itself. Sound familiar? That's exactly how modern fiat currency works. The paper in your wallet isn't backed by gold anymore, it's backed by the word of a government. The United States or the United Kingdom or the Eurozone stamping their authority on a piece of polymer and saying, "Trust us." The Lydians didn't know they were inventing the blueprint for the Federal Reserve, but they were. Here's what the full arc looks like, compressed. A clay tablet in separates value from the physical object. A shekel in Babylon standardizes the concept of how much. A cowrie shell in ancient China turns scarcity into trust. A bronze imitation proves the symbol is mightier than the thing. A Lydian stamp makes institutional authority the foundation of value. 5 solutions, 5 different cultures, 5,000 years, all trying to answer the same impossible question. How do 2 strangers agree that something is worth something? And here's the answer they kept finding over and over again. Currency was never the coin, the shell, the clay, or the metal. Currency was always the agreement, the shared belief, the collective act of trust. The first currency wasn't invented, it was agreed upon. And the thing in your pocket right now, the card, the coin, the phone you tap at a checkout, works for exactly the same reason that clay tablet worked in 3000 BCE. Not because it has intrinsic value, because enough people agree that it does. That's it. That's the whole trick. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Links to sources are in the description.